What better way to listen to the Stay Woke podcast than listening to it wearing a Stay Woke t-shirt or Wokeist t-shirt from royaltyshop.bigcartel.com. My personal favorite is the red and white Stay Woke shirt. Head over to royaltyshop.bigcartel and get one today. Make sure you use the $5 discount code #StayWokePodcast. Again, if you use the hashtag #StayWokePodcast, you get $5 off your next order.
You now tuned in to the hottest podcast in the world, the Stay Woke Podcast, right here on the SonicBreakdown.com.
Man, it's time to wake up. Get this cake up.
Welcome back to another Stay Woke podcast. This is D-Ray Brinson, and you know the Stay Woke podcast is presented by the SonicBreakdown.com. Head over to the SonicBreakdown.com now and check out our articles and reviews. Let's get right into today's episode, and today's episode is going to be another new music segment or new music breakdown, and it's going to be two albums today, and it's going to be Drake's Scorpion as well as J-Rock's Redemption. Both albums were recently released, J-Rock's a little bit earlier, and Drake more recently. We're going to begin with Drake, and this album is basically a double disc if, you know, you're still buying discs. The first side was 12 songs, the second side was 13. The entire complete album, or the double album, runs about an hour and 30 minutes. This is definitely a departure from what we've been used to with Kanye West, 7 tracks, with Tiana Taylor's being 8 tracks, but they all ranged about 30 minutes. So this is about an hour longer. I guess as we go through this, and at the end, you'll see if that made an impression on the level of this album, or the level of greatness or quality of this album, I should say. The first track was Survival. Survival had a nice smooth intro that progressively got more aggressive, matching Drake's content and tone, and then started to scale back as well, matching Drake's content and tone. The noticeable change in the production, as in when I'm talking about as a scaling back, is noticeable when Drake says the line of, "Let me not get ahead of myself." It just felt like it matched very nicely. This particular track, Survival, gave me the impression that we were into a more deeper, introspective, kind of heavier, more close to, I would guess, like Take Care type of vibe. But that necessarily wasn't felt throughout the entire album. The next track was Nonstop. That's really not a song that I rather enjoy. It's a club banger. It makes sense. It feels like a Travis Scott, Migos song. I definitely see what he saw as the appeal for the song, because it definitely will resonate with, I believe, the younger generation. But it wasn't quite for me. Elevate was I did really enjoy that song, Elevate. And to me, it's one of the closer songs to Take Care, which I think is one of his best projects, just from sounds, production, as well as lyrical content, and just consistency and fitting thematically, I felt was one of his best works. Emotionless, I'm kind of meh on that one. I do appreciate the Mariah Carey sample, but it just felt that brings a nostalgic feel to it. And the keyboards gives you that match with the Mariah Carey sample, and how they stripped it down gives you that kind of church feeling of more acoustic, that gospel-esque kind of atmosphere. But this song feels to me like it could have been on Views. It feels like it fits that tone of Views. And then, of course, this song has the line that everybody's been going to is, hiding my son from the world. I wasn't hiding my son from the world. I was hiding the world from my son. To me personally, he really didn't have to explain that. The only person that he really has explained or make them be aware of why he did what he did has done, as in discussing or not discussing his son, is his son. He doesn't know anybody else an explanation or justification to me. But hey, it is what it is. But I do really enjoy the piano outro that occurs at the end of that production. God's Plan, I skip. I'm Upset, I skip. If you've been listening to the Stay Woke podcast long enough, you know those aren't really kind of like in my warehouse of music or type of sonic properties and sounds I like. And even the tempo. Faster tempo, I'm more of a slow tempo, 85 tempo kind of guy. 8 out of 10 is I really, really enjoy that song. I really enjoy the production. It gives that Maybach kind of sophisticated hip hop right at my tempo that I was just talking about. And it has the sonic properties creating a cocky / confident but still hungry atmosphere that's matched with Drake's lyrics. You know, that we're on an 8 out of 10, that, you know, we're not we're not at our perfection yet, but we're still really good, and we're climbing, we're moving in the right direction. So I really enjoyed that particular song. Mob Ties, to me, like, that song literally felt like it's supposed to be a 21 Savage song, 2121. And you know how, if you listen to this podcast before, especially in particularly the review I did on 21 Savage's album, you know that I'm not necessarily the biggest 21 fan. So if this sounds like a song that should have been fit for him, it's probably not to my liking. But I would love to see what Jason Terrell thought about this, because he was more feeling that 21 Savage album than I was. Can't Stop or Can't Take a Joke, I skip. Sandra's Rose, I thought was really interesting. I enjoyed the production. To me, it gave a Jay Dilla feel, bringing that kind of era of production back. And it had a good message about appreciating those that support you, and appreciating yourself as well. The line of "the rose doesn't pick itself" indicates to me that, you know, somebody is recognizing that the rose is special. And if they pick you, and you being that rose, that they're realizing your special gifts and talents and qualities. After Sandra's Rose, which is track number 10, we go to Talk Up. And that is probably also one of my favorite tracks as well. Jay-Z kills it. Really, the Jay-Z verse is really what propels and puts this song on a higher level. You know, Drake's lines or Drake's verse, it's not bad, but really Jay-Z's verse, and particularly the line that a lot of people have been talking about, is "You killed X and let Zimmerman live. The streets are done." That line really stuck out to me. And not that I'm saying that, and I don't think Jay-Z is necessarily, well, he might be, but I'm not being a proponent of violence, of saying that, you know, we should do our own street justice. We saw how that worked out with the Junior case. You can't just go out and be vigilantes and to have street justice. I don't think that's the answer, because, like I just brought up about the Junior case, things like that shouldn't happen. Because if you go through, well, we hope, and we do need to fix our judicial system, but we hope that, you know, you can go through trial, you can face a jury of your peers, be sentenced, and go about it that way. But again, like I said, to me, this was highlighting the fact that the change in mentality, especially in the Black community, as well as the change in mentality of society, of, you know, what does justice really mean, in essence? And is anybody really getting it? It's the kind of questions that really were stimulated through this particular line, as well as the conversation that Jay-Z's stimulating on this track. So I do really enjoy that track. And then the last song on side A is There More? I like this song as well. It sounds like it's a play on Tuscan Leather, the production from Tuscan Leather, to come up with this distorted version of it as the core for this production. Drake lyrically is fine, but it's nothing really too special. The production really stands out here for me. So then that leads us to side 2. And before we go into side 2, let me just kind of say, let me evaluate side 1. For me, side 1 is about 50. I like 50% of the songs. And so to me, that gives it a okay to good. You can't be great if you have songs I skip. That's just how I feel. That's how I kind of rank things. So here, 50% it's a okay to good album. It's not great. So now let's get right into side 2, which is 13 songs. And side 1 felt more of the more emotional kind of, or not emotional, but summer club kind of side to me. And then side 2 kind of gave that kind of more R&B emotional aspect of it. So side 2 starts with Peak. I do enjoy Peak. It has an ominous dark production that feels simplistic, but has several elements that just it has several elements, but they don't play at the same time. So it gives it that impression that it's simplistic. Summer Games, I don't really like, even though the production has a Passion Pit kind of feel, and I do enjoy Passion Pit. You should check them out. Hip hop fans might not necessarily like Passion Pit so much, but if you're into indie, that might be in your wheelhouse. And it also has a mix of Kanye's 808s, and I'm not sure if it's Heartless from 808s and Heartbreaks, or if it's Love Lockdown drums. But something about the drums in this Summer Games production is reminiscent of the drums on one of the Kanye tracks off of 808s. Jaded, I'm not really feeling. Nice for what? I skip it just because of radio fatigue. I've heard it so much that I don't even really know if I don't like it just because I've heard it so much, or if I just don't like it because I don't like it. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Finesse, I thought was an interesting track. The production had an Earl sweatshirt, I don't like to go outside feel. And the content is, as it says, finesse, trying to gain advantages. And in certain situations, people say that's a negative. But when people do it in the business parlance, nobody has an issue with it. And that's what business is about, taking advantage. Well, business really should be about solving a problem. But it's become to the point of taking advantage of situations to gain the most monetary gain. Then you go to Ratchet Happy Birthday. Nah, I do enjoy the production, but the lyrics in the track doesn't really do it for me. That's How You Feel is a good song as well. And Blue Tint, in my feelings, I wasn't really feeling. I kind of hate that song. It's just not for me. Don't Matter to Me. I thought that was interesting. I thought it was really cool for him to get the Michael Jackson sample. I wish he would have did a little bit more with it though. Not necessarily the production, but just the lyrical content and just the feel of the song. I think for it to be a Michael Jackson sample, it should be a great song. It's a good song, but it's not a great song. The last three tracks in particular to me are my favorite on side 2. After Dark, Fantasy, and March 14th, just because I really like introspection and I really like storytelling. And these, you get more of that with it, as well as the production is fitting. As you can tell, I don't have too much to say about this album. I do need to listen to it more, to be honest with you, but it wasn't enough for me to really lock into it. On the side 2, it was about a 50% approval rating. So it was okay to good as well. So to me, if you would have took the 50% on side A, the 50% that was good on side B, put that together, and he would have had a nice, complete album. But tonally and thematically, I'm not sure if that would have fit. So he would have had to do something to make that work. Maybe in the layout of how each track was followed each other, the progression of it, or mixing certain things in to tie in certain themes. So that's just my take on it. Let me know what you think about Drake Scorpion, but I don't think this is one of his best works. It's kind of hard for me to say. I think right now, the way that I'm feeling about it, I kind of put it about the same place where I have Views. This might edge out Views because this might have a little bit more substance and qualities that I enjoy. We'll find out at the end of the year for our top 10 albums. If it makes it on there, then maybe it grew on me and we gain some more, but we'll see. So now I want to get into the J-Rock Redemption album. This album is 13 songs and it clocks in at about 44 minutes. I just want to first, before we get into this, as a lot of you might know, the first review that I did on the sonicbreakdown.com was To Pimp a Butterfly. That kind of sparked this journey that I've been on with the website as well as now the podcast. So I kind of have a strong affinity to TDE. I think they just have really good artists, and I really enjoy the fact how much attention and attentiveness that they put into the craft of making good music. That doesn't mean that I think everything that they make is good or great, but they do have a pretty good, consistent track record of producing quality music. A lot of people might not know this because TDE kind of really, for the mainstream world, hit the scene with Kendrick. But J-Rock was actually the first artist from TDE, and then later Black Hippie was formed through the passion that they had and through the love that they had for music of J-Rock, Schoolboy Q, Ab Soul, and Kendrick Lamar. And so Kendrick even said on previous interviews that he learned a lot from J-Rock and the trials and tribulations that he went through as being the first artist of things they should do, things they shouldn't do, how to navigate the industry, and kind of credits the growth and the trajectory that he's been on as a result of bypassing those negative impacts and barriers that J-Rock was facing by learning through that. For this album, it feels like the whole point of this album for Redemption is J-Rock. It feels like J-Rock is often overlooked. And with this album, he makes it clear that, he signed to TDE for a reason. And You know, that the reason why Kendrick respects him, the reason why Schoolboy Q respects him, SZA, Absol, Isaiah Rashad, Sir, Punch, the reason why he is on TDE is because he can make great, good quality music. And he is a good MC and a good musician, a good artist. So let's start out with the first track, which is The Bloodiest. It definitely sets you up that this is a California project. There is no denying that based on the production, especially on The Bloodiest. And J-Rock doesn't disappoint with the first track, giving us aggressive, witty lines, but always being real, which is something we don't get nowadays, especially in the way social media is with trolls and everything. You can just say a lot of things just to get reactions. And I don't get that impression from J-Rock. I get the impression that he says what he wants to say and what he feels. And that's it. There is no kind of ulterior motive besides just that's how he feels about the situation. He's authentic. So I do enjoy The Bloodiest. For what it's worth, I love the smooth quality of the beat. It feels like silk to my ears. J-Rock being honest and emotionally open, but reminds you that shit still gets real. He also breaks down what he's willing to give, but you have to like make sure that the negative things that you face, that you're willing to face, you all is worth the rewards in essence. Like that's the whole point of the song. Like for what it's worth, like. What is it worth that you're giving up? If you're going to be an artist, if you're going to give all this time, make sure that it's worth it at the end. That the time that you're giving up, just make sure that what you're sacrificing is worth what you're gaining at the end. Because a lot of situations, going back to business, you'll sacrifice relationships, maybe your morals, maybe your values to gain that money. But at the end of the day, does it make it worth it? So that's kind of where I kind of saw it listening to this particular song, which is a really good song. Knock It Off is the next track. The flow of it as well is really nice and interesting. He carries over melodic elements that were in the last song, For What It's Worth, and it merges into this 90s kind of Cali bounce with today's more melodic tones, because nowadays it's more about vibes and melodic tones, where back in the day it was more about hard-hitting basses, bounces, and lyrics, at least to me. But J-Rock still keeps his style and the flow over this blended production of Knock It Off. I really, really love E.S. Tales. The production has this gangsta hip-hop feel we associate with Dr. Dre, Snoop, Dub C, and it kind of brought back some memories of Corrupt for me. But J-Rock still gives you that storytelling, you know, it feels like you're walking through the story that he's telling in here. I really enjoy that J-Rock's telling the story. I really like storytelling, and the production and his story matches for this E.S. Tales, as it states, E.S. Tales. It is a tale, a story, and it's relayed very nicely. Rotation 1/12, it really isn't my song. I won't say I skip it, but it is a song that if I were to skip anyone, that would probably be it. Tap Out as well. Those two tracks for me, and it was right back to back. Tap Out, it wasn't that it was bad. It was just, it was like, to me. It was a club banger. I can also see it being played at, some barbecues, outdoor functions, block parties, things like that too. OSOM, Out of Sight, Out of Mind, which I believe was produced by J. Cole, because it does have a very J. Cole Productions feel and tone. Definitely introspective, which again was right in my wheelhouse of things that I like. But I do like how, to me, it touches on like, that's kind of how it is in society. And going back to with the president, a lot of the things that he's tweeting about and saying is the stuff that he's putting into our site. So the other stuff that he's doing of the bills he's passing, the people that he's putting in offices and positions, the situation with the immigrant children being housed and being facilitated at a property that Bessie DeVos is a co-owner in. Those are the things that are out of sight because he's flooding us with things that we think to distract us. And that's kind of how I took this song, not just in the political realm, but just in life. Like, I feel like society, there's so many things, we're bombarded with so many things because of the internet, social media. We can get hit with so many things that it's distracting us from the more important things of, communication, interacting with people, just being good people, doing what's right for the sake of what's right instead of trolling. So I think that's kind of how I took it. And then J-Rock tells the cautionary tale of like about his career and it not matching up with his expectations and 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 that feeling of being forgotten, of him being out of sight, out of mind, because he wasn't in, the sphere of what we consider popping, like all in front in media and everything like that. But that doesn't mean that his talent deteriorated or he wasn't as good as a musician or artist like that. But if you're out of sight, out of mind, those feelings can creep into your mindset. I'm not going to talk too much about King's Dead. Again, I'm getting radio fatigue on that. Troopers and Broke really are the tracks that stood out to me. Really, all the following tracks I really enjoyed. There's really only 2 tracks that I didn't necessarily enjoy, but I want to talk about, in particular, Trooper, and then a more detail about Broke. Trooper felt like it was like a Drake, Cash Money, Big Sean track in the production. But J-Rock, he did his thing on that one as well. But Broke is probably my favorite. And then ES Tales and Out of Sight, Out of Mind. This is a really good project overall. So it's really hard to pick a favorite. But Broke, production has a somber, reflective atmosphere is created through it. The piano feeling falls right in between the bass to kind of provide perfect balance, to keep that somber, reflective atmosphere throughout the entire song. The lyrics is like an internal monologue with J-Rock, or with yourself, and questioning yourself and questioning your surroundings, questioning why you're in the position that you're in is where I took it. The line that really, really stuck out to me in particular was, now Harriet Tubman says she freed 1,000 slaves, could have freed 1,000 more if they were aware of their chains. This is not the first time I've heard something similar to that mentality of the mental shackles that were created through slavery and then carried on through systemic racial injustices, and all of that combined, adding to this kind of mental slavery that some of us are still in, some of us are getting out of, some of us are working out of, and some of us are trying to bring others out of it. I thought was an interesting way, and Broke, and how he broke that down of what it stood for, and how we use them as crutches to alleviate this feeling that we have of this mental slavery. And then the other line that stuck out too was, truth is mostly taboo. How we're getting away from, facts and truths. Like, there are universal truths that we're ignoring, and it's scary to know that humanity is moving away from that. And I also like that he addresses being a part of TDE, but still not feeling a part of the team or being a contributing factor. And I took that with the Jackson line of about like feeling in the Jackson family, but not being the one that's adding contributing factors to it. And even though I think he might have felt that way, I always felt that J-Rock was an integral part of Black Hippie, or an integral part of TDE. And I believe a lot of others felt that way, but it's interesting that internal monologue, the questioning of himself in here. This track explains why and how people make it out of hard times, of, like I said, using the things that he says of breaking down Broke, like Kush, is to help with the pain. Like, it's a pain relief, or people use sports as escapism, art, music, all as escapisms to get away from the struggles and tribulations of everyday life. Movie, TV shows are all forms of escapism, but people tend to look at the escapism, or the things that Black people use as forms of escapisms, as negative, where in other situations they use them as they don't see him as so. So that was another component that I just thought about talking about it with you guys. So I do want to. Wild Freestyle is a great track. It just has a fun feel to it. And the last track I do want to go into a little bit depth about is Redemption with SZA. For me, it has this summer hip hop love feel. The production has that kind of Tony, Zapp Rogers feel that you get with their music. Of it just feels good. Your body feels good. You just feel this energy from it. That's kind of not just good energy, but I feel like it's a specific energy to California. Not that every state, place, anywhere in the world can have good energy, but it's a specific kind of California energy that I felt with the production and the way that SZA and J-Rock chose to attack this particular song. lyrically, it talks about like doing the right things, like you have a second chance, of understanding the things that are important, those things of value. Me and Trav spoke about somewhat similar to this in regards to Simpler Things, the track by Nas on his album Nasir that was recently released and produced by Kanye. He's talking about the same things in that regard, but in a different manner. Of the things that are important are, for Nas, is making sure that his kids are fine moving into the future and that they live a good life and have the freedoms that he has attained through his success. Where J-Rock's talking about just appreciating the things that he could have lost as a result of the motorcycle accident that he had, and appreciating the people that really did care for him. And usually you don't find those things out until you hit tribulation, when you're going through hard times. In some cases, it's a death in the family and you're really going through a tough time dealing with that. It's those friends and those people that show up and are there for you are the ones that you realize really had good intentions for you all along. And those are the ones you should appreciate moving forward. And that's where really what I took away from this song, and I think adds for me, that feeling of just positivity. Wrapping this album up, it was a really good album to me. I'll say out of 13 songs, I'll say 10 of them I really, really, really enjoy. There's about 2 or 3. I would say, again, there's none that I skip, but I would skip. And it's not that they're not a good song. It's just King's Dead. I'm just radio fatigue, and Win a little bit of radio fatigue as well. So, but I really think this is a really good album. Definitely is instantly, I'm considering as one of the top albums of the year, just for how well it was done, executed, and content wise, production, content, and lyrical content, were really high on this album. So I definitely suggest people to go check it out. You really get to, if you're not familiar with J-Rock, by listening to this album, you get a better idea of kind of who he is and what he's about, and the lessons he learned even being in the music game during this whole process. So I thought it was a very introspective take on redemption. So I would recommend people to go listen to this. Let me know what you think about this J-Rock album, Redemption. Definitely go check that out. Tell me what you think about the Drake album, Scorpion, and leave a comment. Let us know. Also, before we get out of here, I definitely have to give a shout out to all of our Patreons on our Patreon page. I want to give a big shout out to Alana Jane. She is a patron on our Patreon page. She's also been on several of the podcasts. So anybody out there who knows her, show her some love. Anybody who doesn't, go follow her. And go follow us and become a Patreon member. You can, $1 a month is helpful. It just, any contribution that you can give helps maintain and keep on giving this content for the podcast, as well as the website, thesonicbreakdown.com. It also allows opportunities for us to grow with Jonathan's Could You Be More Specific podcast, which is on the Stay Woke Podcast Network, which is every Tuesday and Thursday. So definitely check that out. He has great takes on current social issues. So thank you again. And anybody out there that's interested in having advertisements or ads on this podcast, definitely hit us up or look for us on advertisecast.com, or just email me at cofounder@thesonicbreakdown.com, and I can send you over information so we can get that started. And that can go for podcasts. We can promote your podcast, products that you have, t-shirts, clothing, any business, or just any events that you have coming up. We can promote that and help bring awareness for you for that. Definitely subscribe to our YouTube page and give us some thumbs up. We appreciate that. Give us 5 stars on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. 4 stars are nice, but 5 stars are even better. We definitely appreciate that. And our motto: live, listen to some great music, and above all, love more. This is D. Ray Brinson, and this is the Stay Woke Podcast, and we're out.